Hello, everybody, and welcome back to day 2 of our not Cinegear. That was the last one we did. Welcome back to day 2 of our coverage from Siggraph 2023 in the Los Angeles Convention Center. If you were with us yesterday, we had a great time. And we are today, as we did yesterday, try to get out to the show floor as fast as we can. The camera crews are just settling things down right now. As happened yesterday, I am here with Grant Whitehead and Courtney Gooden, and we're going to be kind of the backup crew just in case things are on hold for some reason out in the field, because we are doing live production and you never know what happens. They're going to be here to kind of backstop me and talk about what we're seeing here. So, Grant, did you have fun yesterday hosting it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a great day. And I was just thinking about how we kind of have a front row seat here, the three of us, but actually everyone gets a front row seat. We get the same experience. People watching on YouTube and being able to post questions in Makana. We all get that front row seat, and we get to just kind of kick back and have Alex and Nick do all the walking for us, which is just amazing.
It was fabulous. Courtney, did you enjoy yesterday?
Yes, I did. I look forward to today to see some new, a few new booths, and to hear from some people. There was that Wacom announcement they were going to announce. They teased yesterday. I don't know if we're going to get that today.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Hearing something new, but look forward. I think they're almost ready to go at the other, sprinting to the first booth.
Yeah, I see some action back there, but it was really fun to be able to look around to see everything that was going on. For those of you who kind of wonder what the arc of the show is going to be like, Alex is on the show floor with the Live View backpack, and he has part of our crew. We have a couple of people with Alex there, and we're kind of testing for the first time doing a 2-camera thing on the show floor, which means as we settle into it, Alex is able to kind of take us on a tour of the show floor, but also send the second camera over to get close-ups and insert shots and things like that. So it was really a lot of fun yesterday, and we should have the same kind of thing today. For those of you who maybe don't know what Siggraph is all about. It originally started as the Graphic Special Interest Group of ACM, the Association of Computing Machinery, back in the early days, back in 1969, back when, computers were a very different thing. In fact, this thing started even before Steve Jobs and Woz formed Apple, so it's been going for a long time. But it's morphed into a look at really the state of the art in computer graphics. So all the things we're seeing happen in 3D, augmented reality, virtual reality, these are the people who bring this to us and get us going with all these things. And I think I see Alex and no, they're not quite ready yet. All right.
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, it's interesting because Siggraph is celebrating its 50 years of conferences this year. So that's how long they've been doing this. And, all of this technology is something that impacts our lives daily. As we kind of make this turnover into virtual reality, all of this stuff becomes part of world building, and that's a huge part of the production industry now. By the way, I should remind you, yesterday, thanks to our contributing sponsors like Live View and Electrosonics, both of them are helping us with some of the equipment that is being able to bring this live production to you from the show floor, and we expect to do the same thing. It was really fun yesterday. Are there any specific things, Grant, that you remember from yesterday that you said, wow, that I wasn't expecting and that really went well?
When we saw the virtual reality bike riding little track,
yes,
that's pretty amazing. As you think about what's going on there, the compute power that it needs to do that in real time, and such real time that it's enough to work with you actually physically riding around a track, and there being they had the rails or the soft edges, I guess, in case you ran into the edges, but that's sort of.
But the thought of riding a bicycle around something virtually inside a headset and knowing in your rational mind that there's nothing between you and going off that track.
It was a tricycle, so it's not like you were riding
that would be interesting.
Or something, right?
That would be interesting, is to trying to balance using your vision.
That's true. Yeah, trying to balance a bicycle.
I believe we are ready. I'm hearing in my ear that we may be going out to the show floor. So I'm going to hold off here a second. See, Alex, can you hear me? And can you come in?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. So we're
Excellent.
here at Siggraph for day. Yep, absolutely. We're here on day 2. Is this day 2?
This is day 2 for the expo. The conference actually started on Sunday.
I feel like we've been here for so long.
Hey, we've been here for a long time. So
there was
swing.
Because there was another show that next year we'll cover called Production Summit, which was really, really great. And sorry, I have some. Yeah, so the so we had Production Summit for Thursday and Friday, and then we had Production Summit, and then there was another graphics conference that we missed over the weekend over at the Marriott. Evidently, what's happening is all these graphics conferences are happening around it.
Anybody and everybody that uses computer graphics, that's an expert in computer graphics and interaction, descends on wherever Siggraph plants its plants its pylons. So everybody's here, and then there's a lot of associated groups. There's a CG Pro thing. There's just loads of things happening. And on top of the conference itself, many of the companies are hosting their own events. So like the Foundry has an event in a hotel where they're doing their own set of seminars and things like that. So there's all kinds of things going on.
Now we're standing right in front of Drexel University. Your booth. This is your booth.
Yeah, this is our kind of base of operations here at Siggraph.
We're going to come around a little bit so you can see what we're doing here. So this is the Drexel University booth. What are you really looking at promoting here while you're here at Siggraph?
Really, the biggest thing that we're trying to do is promote our alumni and our students as skilled practitioners in this field.
Right.
So this is our opportunity to connect with industry. I know a lot of universities do, booths in order to recruit students, but that's not at all what this is about for us.
Right.
This is about taking students like Anna, who's very surprised to be live on the air right now. But here she is. She's sharing her demo reel. A lot of the material that's out here is actually student business cards as they're doing job searches.
Right.
It's been a blast because some of these students were landing jobs in the days leading up to Siggraph. They were interviewing, and so at least one of them was asked to go work in a booth by the time they had gotten here. So it's really exciting time. And for our current students who haven't graduated like that, for example, Anna doesn't graduate until next year, it's a really amazing chance to see the industry before graduation. This gives laser focus for the next year before graduation. So those are the things we're after is getting the students introduced to the industry.
That's great. Excellent. Well, we're going to wander around. We heard that Blackmagic might talk to us if we walked over there.
Yeah, let's go over to Blackmagic.
So we're going to wander over to Blackmagic right now. So we're going to walk this way. I think that they're this way. They're this way.
Yep.
This is why no one lets me do directions. So anyway, so we're walking over here, and we're going to check this out. And we've got some cool folks here. Now, this has been a really big push forward. Can you talk a little bit about some of the features that Blackmagic?
So where NAB, they're going to be really highlighting the broadcasting hardware and the cameras and those sorts of things. Siggraph is more in the computer graphics focus. And so this is where Resolve and Fusion really come to shine. And there's a whole host of new features. So 18.5 was just released.
And it was in beta for a while, but now it's out.
Now it's out. Now it's released, right. And so some of the things that are in here, again,
I like to call that Gamma.
Okay,
it's not really.
Do we need to adjust the gamma, and that's a point released? That's adjusting the gamma?
Exactly.
All right. Okay.
That's Siggraph jokes, computer jokes for you.
There you go. So the big deal is that Fusion is inside Resolve, and that is a highly capable compositing tool. So it's on par with Nuke and After Effects, except...
Is there a lot of difference between the standalone version of Fusion versus the version of Fusion in Resolve?
Not to my knowledge. To my knowledge, in Resolve, that's Fusion. The main difference is that the built-in version in Resolve is completely integrated with your Resolve timeline. That's the big thing.
And I've done a couple of effect shots in Fusion inside of Resolve. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is I had a green screen clip that I wanted to add some effects to. So I want to add a digital background.
Yeah. I
want to have a guy jump out of and turn into a missile. Mm-hmm. And so I had the clip in the timeline, and then I had another clip on top of that was going to be my background plate.
Yep.
Select those, bring them into Fusion. Here are my nodes. Drop those nodes in between. Pull the green screen, and then So I got all of that built, and then I started adding particle systems, and I had all the other bits and pieces that I needed.
Yep.
Then I can go into Fairlight and drop in my sound effect of the sonic boom as he flew off, and all of that stuff was all done inside of it. And and then as I change the edit and I move it, in the old days, what we would do is, of course, we would render that out, then we'd import the clip, and then we'd make sure it was working, and here it's just done.
Right, so if you were editing in Final Cut, you would have to render a file, pass that into Fusion, render from Fusion, bring that back to Final Cut, et cetera. And so you're passing back and forth, where these exchanges are all happening in memory, on the GPUs, like it's native Apple Silicon optimized.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest difference, feature-wise, in terms of what nodes you can have and use, that's identical, but having everything in memory in a single app has a lot of performance advantages. And so
I think we're going to talk to someone here. We're just waiting for it to be clear.
So Bob is here.
Bob?
So I'll give Bob my microphone. You can talk to Bob Caligula.
You just go back and forth. And
I'll go back and forth. Here we go. Welcome to Live.
Well, here we are. Great. Thanks for coming by.
So Alex and I were just talking about Resolve and Fusion and
one question that I asked Nick, and we're going to test Nick's knowledge here. Is there any significant differences between the Fusion standalone and the Fusion inside of Resolve?
The Fusion standalone has better access for like render nodes and outside collaboration, but for the most part, the tools have been migrated between the two of them. So at this point, you can use either one. So if you have a license for Resolve, you could just run it with Fusion standalone or Fusion inside Resolve. So
so you can download Fusion, and if you have the license for Resolve, works in Fusion?
Yeah, it goes both ways now because
that's amazing.
It's so interoperable. But a lot of people now like to work within Resolve for Fusion because of the interoperability between the other tabs.
And we were just talking about that. I did an effect shot, and that was it. Green screen, particle systems, everything else, and it's just sitting in my edit. So I'm not sitting there rendering out, looking back, retiming it, putting it all together. I went into add special effects inside of the audio, inside of Fairlight. All that stuff is all built into one place.
Great, and that's the part of our new collaborative workflow too, where if you and I are working and you're doing the Fusion bit and I'm going to do the edit bit, we can work on the same timeline at the same time and move shots around like that. I mean, that is something that we're striving to get more people to realize the power of that collaborative workflow, whether it's you and I in the same building or in different continents.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what are the, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, on that collaborative workflow, one of the big new features is built-in USD support.
Yeah, exactly. So all the rage here at Siggraph talking about USD. So the universal scene descriptors, that's like going to add a whole nother level of interoperability with other softwares and whatnot. And I think that we'll see that expand over time. It was implemented in 18.5, which is now full release, but we'll see what happens in the future now.
Yeah, no, I was talking to Steve earlier, and he was showing me that where dragons flying around the Griffith Observatory, and it's phenomenal to see that all built in, and it's all happening inside that accelerated space of Resolve.
Well, and the thing that I thought was really interesting was the ability to have a lot more control over things like anti-aliasing. So there's a lot of other things. You can use a real-time renderer with USD. There's other things that are supporting USD, but most of them are doing that in a real-time rendering environment or something that's close to real-time. And what we're seeing is, even when it renders out, using those engines, we're still seeing some aliasing. Whereas here, we can turn that aliasing back up inside of it. So that makes a big difference, because I kind of was like, well, USDZ is really cool. Someday it'll be usable, and here it really feels usable.
That's exactly right. And as we were talking with Steve about it earlier, he said, yeah, we're just getting into it. There's more on the horizon, and I think that's why the enthusiasm and how AI/the USD is just really starting now and going to expand as we go.
Right, and that's the other big suite of tools that are showing up in Fusion and Resolve is all the AI tools, and some of that is great where it's transcription, and now you can drive the timeline based on the script that you've gotten transcribed. But Steve was also showing me like the AI enhanced roto, content aware fill, and like he was making clean plates out of green screens, using AI and like just enhancing keys.
Yeah, I mean, I think back into the 90s when I was doing posts, and it would take us a week to do things that are now a button press, and I go, boy, I don't know, these new kids are getting a lot of tools easy, making it easy for them. But I think what it does is it just extends the creativity. So things that you thought before that you might want to try, and you're like, there's no way we can do that. Now it's like, there's always a way we can do that, which I think is a great pivot to see that happening.
What are some of the other big features in Fusion, since we're here at Siggraph, that were added
Well,
at
right,
18.5?
Yeah, I mean, we added Magic Mask into Fusion that was in Resolve, and that's part of the rotoscoping where it's like now you can pull a key off of anything, and some of these things that you should take. Steve was saying, he said, it was like a frame by frame rotoscope, and now it's a. And there you go, we did it. And so I think that, and that's all the power of the AI stuff that we've had in there for a while. That was one of the things at NEB. Somebody said, is it new? And it's like, well, AI is not new to Resolve. We've had it with a lot of different features. We're just being able to expand it now with our neural engine powering all those things, including the audio to text you mentioned earlier, yeah.
And all of that neural engine works on both Mac and PC, and it's native Apple Silicon optimized and all of that?
Exactly. I mean, we run on Linux, Windows, and Mac, and then obviously on the Mac side, the new Apple Silicon, we've definitely worked with them hand in hand to try and get the most speed we can out of those. And the performance there is really astounding.
Can these AI features even be used on like an M2 iPad?
Well, actually, yeah. So now we have it on the iPad, and it's funny because the iPad, I think the beauty of that is that if somebody wants to just play with something to like show a colorist the look that they were thinking, they can then send that file to them with a DaVinci Resolve project so that whoever is looking at it knows exactly where they came from. It wasn't like they just, played with it in some other foreign software. They're using the same software, and that's the beauty of it.
Essentially, someone can be sitting on set, they get a bunch of files, they can go into the cut page or edit it and put together a basic assembly and then start sending it out. Like, this is where I'm going. And that's a project file that the editor can open and start working on.
Exactly.
Fusion can add some effects. We can start playing with sound effects in Fairlight, and color can take a look at all those things. And is it in the iPad? Is it able to take in the full ProRes files to work with?
Well, so yeah, it's whatever files you want, and there's hooks to be able to get into cloud-based files or native to the actual iPad, and also like our speed editor works Bluetooth, so you can actually use that with the iPad. So I think that the way that and like even in color, somebody can play with the color, send it to the colorist, and the colorist can go, I see what you did, how you got there. They'll probably disagree on how to get there, but that doesn't matter. But the fact is, you want to be able to see where were they headed with that.
And it really is as simple as having an iPad sitting on set, fiddling around with it, and then being able to not have to go, okay, now I have to export this out and take it over here and move it over there. You can just send out the project file for people to work on.
Exactly. All you have to do is send in the DaVinci Resolve project, which is small. And of course, we have our Blackmagic Cloud service where you can share libraries and all those, and that all works with the same interoperability with whether it's the iPad or a laptop.
Yeah, I mean so last year when I came to Siggraph, I had not really dug deep into Resolve, but I had resolved to learn Resolve. And I can safely say that, yeah, I've gotten there, and that's now my primary editor. And I've started collaborating with outside groups, and using the cloud services has been fantastic. And so you're saying that basically you can leverage all the cloud proxies with this as well. So and that basically is transparent in terms of operating systems. So it's iOS. So now it's iOS and Linux and Mac and Windows. So there's 4 operating systems that this all works transparently across.
Exactly. And as someone I worked at DaVinci before the acquisition, and if you had said to me then, so eventually we're going to be doing all these things, I'd say you're crazy. And having Fairlight audio and Fusion, visual effects, all inside the same application. I don't know what we're doing.
And what would you have thought of the price point idea at that time?
Yeah.
What was Resolve when you were in Resolve?
When we were selling them, they were in the $400,000 to $500,000 turnkey range, but now it's free, but we're making it up in volume.
Well, what is that? Because there is a $300 studio version, and so what is the difference between those?
Yeah, the studio version gives you the ability to do multiple GPUs. There's 3D things in there, the noise reduction, which is really awesome. we've seen a lot of uptick. You know, if you buy a camera, you get the studio version. But also we've noticed that a lot of people are upgrading because, you know, there are some features they want to take advantage of, but that free version gets you to sort of whet your appetite and get started.
So is that included with any Blackmagic camera, or just certain ones? Like, because I've gotten studio cameras, I've gotten cinema pockets, you know.
Right. So we do include it with the cinema cameras from the 4K all the way up to the 12K. And you know, look, it's and each license is good for 2 different computers, to be honest. So.
And as someone who's bought about 15 of those cameras so far, I think we have about 12 of the 6Ks and 3 of the 12Ks. I can say that I love this program.
Yeah. Well,
we got a lab worth of resolves. So.
Resolves, right? Yeah. You know, as I say, it is amazing to where we were, because I think in 2009, when the acquisition happened, if there were 100 people in the world that knew how to run a Resolve, that might be high. And today there's probably 1,000 on this show floor. So
easily. You know, I think one of the other things that has happened over the last year or so is the integration with the ATEM ISO line, and that's been fascinating to me because of the ability to, you know, press a button on the ATEM and you're getting 8 tracks of video recorded, but that can also trigger all of the cameras that are connected to also record. So you can take advantage of that 8K, 12K resolution on those cameras, recording to their native media. You've got basically proxy being generated live, and not only the proxy files are on that ATEM, but you end up with a Resolve project file.
Well, right, you have the Resolve project file, you have the program output so you can match back to it, the synchronized recordings, and you know, it's funny because that vision for that came a long time ago, like, at some point we should be able to figure out a way to, when you do a line cut, to have that generate this DaVinci Resolve project, and we're here today doing it, and it is really fascinating to just hit record, and then next thing you know, you have this whole thing. And when you open it up, it just populates, and then you just go into the, you can go into the multi-view, or a multicam setup in the cut page and just fire away and re-edit and fix all the mistakes you make.
Yeah, well, I mean, so as an instructor that teaches in a studio environment, if I'm teaching a subject like motion capture, it's really difficult to record, like as a typical Zoom recording of that class isn't going to be particularly useful to the students. But, you know, we have several PTZs in the studio. We've got our monitors from our MoCap systems going into the ATEM. So again, I walk in, I put on a wireless mic, I hit record, I teach my class, and I've got essentially a 360 view of everything that happened, and I don't have to think about what's the most important thing to get into the Zoom meeting at that time, and then I can, you know, take that, all angles were recorded, and I can edit as needed, do zoom ins and punch ins and all that sort of thing, and so it's been really fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun to watch and hear people that are taking advantage of that, and you know, it's fun to see, that's for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we got a couple questions from our viewers. Woo! Live viewers here are asking a question. We got a question from Peter Belbin in Houston, Texas, and he said, "Will Resolve plus Fusion eventually be able to be used to produce live graphics, real-time rendering?"
You know, I don't know the answer to that fully, but you know, you can't rule anything out because the power of hardware continues to astonish me. So you never know with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Bob. It was great seeing you again.
All right.
Seeing
you guys.
Stay in touch.
Thanks, Bob. Yep.
Thanks.
Bye, audience.
So yeah, now we're gonna watch. Let's see, we've got a couple more questions here.
Yeah.
One of the questions from this is from Ron Lakeman in Waterloo, Canada, and he says, "What is happening at the Blender booth? USDZ and geometry nodes are an area of interest."
Yeah, I haven't been to the Blender booth.
Where is the Blender booth?
I haven't seen it. I don't know.
I know.
We're going to have to look them up.
We'll have to
they
figure out
might
where
have
it is.
a room instead where they're doing
It might
sessions.
be a room because I haven't seen the Blender booth here, so I don't know. So we'll take.
I'm
we'll
sorry,
look at
I'm
that.
not qualified to
Sorry.
answer that question.
Next question is, let's go to, well, let's see here. Paul Wallace wants to know, what is dynamic GPU font rendering at Siggraph? That was what we were looking at before.
Yes, we didn't get there. We'll have to get there before.
We'll walk over there.
We'll find out when there's
absolutely,
people there.
Absolutely. And then, let's see here. I want to see, answer, this is from Paul Wallace as well. How do you draw in 3D and on Feather on the iPad?
You think we can walk over there and see if anybody's
I can see
gonna
if,
show
so
us?
I met the designer earlier. I went over there. Let's see if he's
Let's see if we
available.
can walk-
When are we going there?
Oh, it's like in about 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Well, we might have
All
enough
right,
time to figure this out. Thank you. Let's see here. Let's see if we can ask. Hold on. I'm going to walk this way here.
We're going to walk over to
find
Feather.
a designer. Let's see if we can. I think we're gonna try to do this. We're just gonna jump in. No, we haven't scheduled anything.
You know what? You talk a little bit. I'm gonna go ask if I can talk to him.
You go ask them, but
Yeah.
make sure not to do. Here, I'll hold that so you
Yeah,
don't
you-
accidentally mic them while you ask them. So we're back here at Feather. Again, we're really excited about it. Here we go. It's good to see you again. Can I ask you a couple questions on air? Okay, we're live. We're live right now, and so now you are. Can you give your name?
Okay. Should I look at the
Yes,
camera?
yeah,
I'm Junwon Yang. I'm CDO of Sketchsoft, which made this product Feather. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too. And we now you tell us a little bit about why you created this product.
Okay. Before we call this product name Feather, we designed this product for automobile designers because they treat very complex curves and shapes.
Right.
But now we're hoping that if automobile designers can use this, then anybody who needs to create 3D ideas in 3D space can use it as a starter, as a
Right.
sketch app.
Absolutely. Hey, Nick. Let's get Peter to take a picture of this while we're talking here.
Just so you know, this is Young Kwang. He is the founder of the company.
And so is he. He's the CTO.
Right.
Yeah. So we're good. We're good.
Nice to meet
So
you.
we're good. We are embarrassment of riches here. So, but let's get a shot of him talking,
sure.
and I'll keep talking to you.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll come over here. So we just want to get a close up, Peter, of this here. You could probably shoot up here as well. This LED wall. All right. So anyway. So the so. You started this. Now, one of the questions that we had is for the drawing, how do you define that plane? And we're seeing a little bit of this right now. So how is that the drawing plane defined?
Okay. If you draw a curve in any camera, in any perspective, then it shoots and extrudes a surface.
Right.
We call that a 3D guide. And
Right.
if you draw over the 3D guide, then it
And it's ray tracing
ray
again.
tracing
Yep.
and finds the depth. And
That is
that's
amazing.
how it draws the curve. Yeah.
It's just amazing. We were talking about it earlier, and we talked about it yesterday.
Yeah.
That this was the one thing that I really, just stopped me.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate it.
So we're really, really excited about your product.
Thank you.
Where do you now? This is available. You said it's available on the web as well as the iPad.
Yes, it's based on web, so you can use it in any software, hardware, but we released it in iPad App Store only last year, November.
Right. And so it's available now.
Yes,
And right
sure.
now it's free.
Not right now, it's free, but we are preparing for a subscription model.
So the time to get it is right now. That's the time. People should buy it right now. So
Yeah.
so anyway, so that or pick it or download it.
Yeah.
And do you have any big features that you're still waiting to release?
We're preparing for simple camera animations and more delicate functions for
Right.
sketching for now.
Right.
And in ambiguous, we hope that we can make features for more animations like rigging or like platforms or
Right.
some services that you can collaborate with other colleagues or like teammates. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. You're
It
welcome.
was definitely a pleasure to talk to you. We're really excited. We feel like we saw something truly new here this week. So, thank you. So really impressed with this app. I can't believe that it's free right now. So it's free on the iPad, and I'm a little embarrassed that I didn't download it last night, but I do plan to download it tonight. Yeah. So we're really excited about it. Definitely download it. Feather. It's on the App Store. It's free right now, and this is the thing that just when I saw it, and I'm not the only one. Everyone keeps on saying, "Oh, did you see the thing over there?"
Yeah.
Now, one thing I'd like to show is a little hand animation. We'll go this way. 'Cause
Sure.
I think we're
But we
going
have
to NVIDIA.
I think NVIDIA
is waiting for us. He's not
Okay,
there yet.
so-
we're going to go over and look at hand animation. We're on
Okay.
our way. It takes us on our way to NVIDIA as well. So we'll make that actually work here. So let's take a look at and see what questions we have as we wandering over.
Sure.
We've got Alan Scott said, "What wisdom was gained from yesterday's stream?" So the thing one of the things we learned is you'll see that we're not doing as much with the second camera looking at us. We're really having that look at things. We definitely lighten the rig. So you'll notice that this is handheld, and it's a lot easier to handheld. Yeah, this is a good stop here for a moment. So you'll see it pop up, and now we're going to pop into there. So one of the things we did is we'll show some pictures because we're going to talk about this on Friday, and we definitely lighten this load a lot. So what we did is we moved all the weight to Peter's back, so the rig is. Maybe we'll turn around for a second to just show Peter here for a second. Just turn this. We're just going to turn this here, and so here Peter's all racked up here. So we've got our video transmitters, we've got our video receivers, audio receivers, and then if you turn around, Peter, we'll just show it how it's all wired. And just turn around here. There's the live view. That you can see our signals going out. So that's how this is all. That's how we're rolling here. So that's what we learned yesterday. A lot of that was on the rig. So we had that. A lot of that was on the actual this rig. By moving it, a lot of that over to there, it really made it a lot easier to do handheld. Cassie brought a handle so that she can grab onto it. So when we're walking now, before it was kind of grabbing onto the tripod and making it all work, and now she's pulling it off. Raj is grabbing the tripod in there, and she's able to kind of follow us along, which is fantastic. So we don't have any. We're not going to talk to anyone here probably, but we'll show you this now. What this is, you can see You see the hand, the little glove. So this is Manus. And what it does is that is another motion capture, right?
Right, so it's motion capture dedicated to really your fingers, your phalanges. So it's being able to allow you to capture the fine articulation.
Right.
And these are critical if you're using an inertial MoCap suit. So like when we were at ViCon, you can optically mark fingers and the one system can track body and fingers. But if you're using an inertial MoCap suit, like an Xsense or Rococo or something, you have to have gloves in order to track the fingers at all. Otherwise, you'll have to just hand animate them. Yeah. So
which we did. We had one where we did a music video with all CG characters, and we had to go in and doing the chords when we can't motion capture them. It's hard. So that's all I gotta say. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's there's so much articulation and expression in our hands, and so this really completes the puzzle. We have the cameras, face-wear cameras and such to capture facial performance. This really finishes the full package.
I think these guys are just looking like they're not doing anything. I think we should walk over.
Let's go and see if they're allowed to
say hi. Hey, we're streaming live. Can we talk to you a little bit about? Tell us a little about how these gloves work.
There we go.
Yeah, so we focus on the best tracking technology for hand capture on the market. So these actually work with an electromagnetic field. So other gloves might use inertial measurement units, like orientation sensors or bend sensors or stretch sensors, but these use electromagnetic fields. So a whole different tracking technology that creates an... Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure, go. So electromagnetic fields, on the back here, there is a source, and that sends out a sphere of electromagnetic. And then on each fingertip is a sensor, and that picks up its absolute position within that field.
And are you using IK to calculate the rest of the... So you know where the end of this is, and then we're using for inverse kinematics to know what... The finger can only do a couple things to get to that point.
That endpoint can only be in one position.
Yeah.
In relation to what the rest of the finger is doing, because it's a 1 degree calculation back.
And what we're looking at this screen up here, that's this hand, right?
Yeah, this is now hooked up. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so this sort of rolling motion, and it's just phenomenal data you can get out of this product.
And how much does this cost?
So the one that streams into Unity and Unreal, so the one you use for real time, that's at 5,000.
Yep.
Then we have a recording functionality, 6,000.
Right.
And then we have different partner models. So we have one with Qualisys, we have one with Xsense, we have one with OptiTrack, and those range from 7,500 to 8,000.
And these are really something you'd wear with some of those other suits. So you get really high fidelity fingers while you're getting the overall movement from the body.
Yeah, correct. So we need something that gives us the location of the back of the hand or the wrist, and then we figure out the rest. But we need something to do the absolute positioning in space.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, that's really, really, really interesting. So once again, that's Manus. And it's just manus.com. Is that the manus-meta.com? Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for your time.
Hey.
All right,
Thanks,
see you later.
Thanks.
Really impressive. As someone who once again has animated some of this in the past,
do you want to take a
that's
look
so
at
much
another
better.
glove solution? And since
Yeah.
we're on that
Yeah,
subject,
we're
because I
walking
think they're
around.
right around the corner here.
yeah, we'll go around here. So let's we're going to grab that. So now this is the Vicon system,
Actually,
or
this
is
is
a
Stretchsense.
Stretchsense, okay.
Stretchsense is another hardware manufacturer in that same vein. And as they were just explaining over at Manus, their technology is based on something different than instead of using a magnetic field to track the movement of the fingertips, they're using a stretchable material inside the fingers, and it changes electrical properties as it stretches.
Right. And why don't we shoot that screen over there?
Yeah.
So we'll have Peter. There we go. Just to kind of show those hands.
Great. Yeah, and obviously it's a really popular space.
Right.
So the solution works similarly, and maybe we'll be able to talk to a rep. So I will have to declare that I'm a little biased because I'm a customer of Stretchsense. I've got 2 sets of their gloves.
Now, how much do these cost? How much did they set you back?
So I don't even remember.
Right.
One of the things is they've been really reliable, and so both sets we've had for well over a year.
Yeah.
And they're very similar in pricing, I believe, and
Right.
we'll definitely ask them. And the other thing is that Stretchsense has a range of products, and so the pricing of that range is not quite as close as the ones at Manus. And the other thing is when you buy their base model, it includes both live streaming and recording.
Right.
So if you get a set of gloves, you're getting the ability to live control anything in Unreal or Unity, or the app just records. So and it's standalone, so you can have one computer operating as many. You could have multiple pairs of gloves being received by a single computer at once.
Now, Paul asks us, what is a sketchpad at Siggraph? I think that's what we were just at.
And so the actual product name was Feather.
Feather.
Yeah. And the Sketchpad was an iPad, and it's just an iOS free app on the marketplace, right?
So cool.
On the App Store.
I feel like that's the big discovery for us. I know it doesn't look. It's not as computationally expensive as many of the other things here, but it's impressive.
It's one of those, for me, honestly, drawing has always been a challenge for me. I mean, I know you had Ian McCaig try to teach me how to draw.
Well,
right?
I want to see. So when I saw Feather, the first thing I thought is I got to see what Ian would do with this.
Yes, exactly. And I was thinking that with DaVinci Resolve, it was kind of like the recording ability, the ISO, that was that's it. There's no using anything else anymore. And I feel like that app exists. I need to learn. I will learn to draw because that app exists.
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. Another question from Paul is, explain Z Motion at Siggraph for fashion design. Z Weave, Z Unreal, Z Maya, what are these?
Okay, so we stopped at their booth
over
yesterday.
There. That was over here, right?
That was, yesterday. And I mean, we could go back, but it's up to you if you want to go back.
Let's wander over.
All right, let's do that.
Just when you thought it was safe, we're gonna wander over. So talk while we're walking. Talk a little about what Z Motion is.
So basically, the core software product, as I understand it, is called Z Weave.
Right.
And so it's intended for fashion designers that already know how to design and cut patterns. I think one of the exciting things is if you look at what cosplay folks are doing, hobbyists, they understand fashion design and the fashion patterns. They'll share those, on Discord servers and things like that. So this software takes that exact paradigm and makes it accessible digitally. And then you could either use the tool to output patterns that could then be cut. So it allows someone to experiment with fabric and such.
We'll see. Maybe we can see
digitally.
We're streaming live. Is there someone we could talk to about Z Motion?
Are you guys? Is there someone that you want Scott to do that? All right. Oh no, your screen's down. But we can show that.
We'll just take a look at this.
Yeah. So if we can zoom in on this screen.
So we'll bring this over here. We'll take a look.
Yep. You want to set up cameras?
No, yeah.
Okay.
We're just going to move the cameras around. So we'll look at
the
this
point
right
at
here.
place what's happening here is this is actually Maya. So this is after you've done a design in ZWeave and then exported it into Maya. And so once it's in Maya, you can use any rendering engine, whether it's Redshift or RenderMan, Arnold, etc. And so you get all the amazing ray tracing qualities of a full professional feature film grade rendering engine.
And so what they've really focused on is the cloth itself.
Exactly. And again, it's from how you manipulate the cloth from a pattern level. So just the way a genuine costume designer would.
And the key is that all
it.
of this stuff, it's not just calculating cloth, it's calculating a certain kind of cloth. All of those cloths have different stretchiness, they have different friction, weight, all of those things have to be, and it's very hard to simulate those.
Exactly. I mean, that's been it's a challenge from a layperson's point of view, right? So if you pick up some lightweight sports clothing, it feels stretchy, what it feels like. To translate those properties into a computer cloth simulation, you need a scientist almost to really dial those in.
Right.
And so a lot of that aspect of things is already built in. You can customize it, but there'll be templates in there for cotton and for lycra and for leather. And so all of those types of materials are already available for someone who can design that clothing. And most of these tools will allow people to share the files. And so it makes these various, basically full wardrobes exchangeable. So that's what's really exciting.
We're gonna go this way just to get out of the way. You don't have to get anywhere. We're just gonna rotate around a little bit. I just don't want to be right in front of their booth. Got a couple questions here. This one's from Courtney.
Okay.
And Courtney Gooden in Hollywood asks, can these hand trackers be used for remote ASL?
So yes, I've definitely seen that used in application before.
I think it's the first time I've seen that kind of resolution on some of these hand trackers between both of these. So I think that with the motion capture of the arms and everything else, I think this is the first time I said, oh, well, they might actually be able to have enough finger data to get it right.
Actually, so Stretchsense in particular, their app has a built-in machine learning system, and they actually have the ASL library in that. So you can load that ASL library, and you can make all of those gestures, and it'll just memorize what the hand sensor values were as you articulated each of those gestures, and that makes it far more accurate now. So, someone who knows ASL flies through all of those syllables and such, and so this is something that is built into the software for these, and so it's really highly capable.
Another question from Paul Wallace. He said, explain how Stretchsense gloves are used in your workflow.
So it's similar to what we talked about in the Manus booth, in that with Vicon MoCap, we're capturing the full body, but honestly, our stage is so large, and we could only afford so many cameras. Our setup isn't really optimized for getting finger detail as it is, and it's especially starts to break down as we add more and more performers into that space. It holds up great for full body. So by adding the Stretchsense gloves into the mix, we're able to capture very fine detail, finger motion, and we can do that with multiple performers at once because the Vicon system's dedicated to just getting full body and all the big motions, and then the Stretchsense gloves, and we'll run 2 pairs at a time, are wirelessly transmitting all of the finger motion. The really cool thing is we can live stream both the body and the fingers into Unreal Engine simultaneously, and we can record the fully blended performance all at once in Unreal Engine on a MetaHuman.
And you can attach that to something like a MetaHuman.
Exactly, it's on a MetaHuman, and the other advantage of this is the director, the client, the producer, they can see the end result, at least the raw capture data, with the final model, in the final environment, with the lighting.
Well, and the other thing is that even if it's just previs, being able to say, that's what we started using MoCap for at the beginning, was I'm going to do some previs, and I want to really feel it. So now with a head tracker, with gloves, with the motion capture, you can get a really good performance.
Absolutely.
In real time, probably enough for a Saturday morning cartoon. Maybe it's
certainly
not Pixar level, but there's a lot of stories you could tell effectively with that.
Exactly, and there's not only are there a lot of stories to tell, but you can also use this to bring those animated characters to life. So you could have a live show with an animated character, they can interact with the audience, and so it really opens up a whole new suite of possibilities.
Absolutely. Roscoe Jones asks, how many channels of data do these MoCap hands record, and how easy is it to edit after the capture?
So it's incredible. It's very well. It can be very easy to edit, right? So, I mean, basically, ultimately, what we're doing is we're recording rotational data for each and every joint. So I am not an orthopedic surgeon, so I don't know off the top of my head exactly how many bones there are from our wrist to our fingertips.
Right.
But there's a lot of them. And even in a MoCap scenario, there's probably more bones in the palm of our hand than we actually generate in CG. But each of our fingers has essentially 4 segments to it. And there's a segment inside the palm. And then the 3 segments that we see outside. And so rotational data is being generated for all of those, for all fingers, including the thumb. And the thumb has a little additional rotational information that we don't necessarily need to capture. And also, those rotations are, we're splaying them out as well as curling them. And there's also, one of the things that's interesting to me is like the ability to kind of hyperextend a finger.
Right.
So, all of those types of things can be recorded. And then ultimately, they're animation tracks inside our animation tools, and there are ways of speeding up the editing, right? You would select all the joints at once and say, all right, I just want to curl that a little bit more, or let me, also there are analysis tools like let me filter out all the outliers, right? Our Butterworth filter.
Yep, the Butterworth. Always
get rid of, all the spikes and those sorts of things. So it's once you've done it a few times, you get into a groove with it, and it's only going to improve. Again, that's some of the excitement with the AI tools coming in is that, we can use machine learning to do a lot of the nitty-gritty edits.
Now, Mitch Hill asks, what's happening at the Adobe booth? I'd love to see some AI-enhanced versions of traditional software. So we showed a little bit of 3D Substance. It might be hard for us to, in the time we have, to dig into the Adobe one, but we're going to bring somebody on from Adobe onto office hours, and so we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we should do that.
That's going to be a deeper dive. Paul Wallace asks, what is Zeiss Anywhere, Anytime camera tracking?
Well, I don't know. They're right next door. Do you want to go see if we can find out?
Let's wander over.
All right.
And Raj, I don't know what you just said. Okay, yeah. Yep. He just was telling me that there's Makana questions, which I'm jumping into. Let's see if we can. We're streaming. Is there someone we could talk to a little bit about your product? Anyone available?
Okay.
Are we able to pull him? Hold on one second here. We're gonna pull. All right. Hi, Tom. Good. We're streaming, so we might have a couple questions for you. So tell us, what is Zeiss, the Zeiss Anytime tracking?
Okay. So what we're showing at this show is what our new product called Zeiss Siggraph Scenario. So that is a real-time camera tracking device. It's what we call a hybrid tracker. So it uses either natural features, and by this we mean anything that's in the environment. So it can be, set, lighting fixtures, dirt on the floor. It's a super robust kind of tracking technology. It means you can take it outside, you can use it in stages.
So it's really just looking for imperfections that it can grab onto.
Exactly, yeah, fixed features in the environment. But on top of that, we also support marker-based tracking. So this is for setups maybe where you don't have enough visual fidelity in the environment. You can actually put special reflective markers up, and that gives like a level of robustness or of consistency. And the third option, we've also added support for digital markers. So this is when you're operating on large LED volumes. Often in those type of environments, it can be hard either to find fixed features or to place markers. So,
and are you able to, in that hybrid environment, are you able to do more than one at a time, or is it you switch each mode?
So exactly. We have the ability to kind of move quite quickly between the modes. At launch, we're trying to make it quite clear and offering either one or the other. But it's quite easy for a user to move between them. And longer term, it's not a big deal for us to kind of change how we offer that.
And because it seems like there are times when you might have you want the markers, but you might have occlusions, and so when you see occlusions, it's going to grab onto whatever's in the environment that it's tracking at the same time.
Exactly, yeah. And the other key point, our kind of sensor that we call the CAM bar, it's a stereoscopic system. What that allows us to do is you don't actually have to have a distinct mapping phase when we use the technology. So it really means you can start it tracking, and it will just learn. So we don't have to sort of take it offline, maybe learn an area. We can really do it on the fly. So that's super powerful for really a lot of like film set applications where it's a little bit more run and gun. You don't quite know where you're going to be, or you're moving between camera platforms.
Are you able to show us what you have here at the booth here?
Of course, yeah. So on the camera itself, at the front here, we have the cam bar. So this is our sensor. It can really go anywhere on the camera. In this setup, obviously, we're just pointing it forward.
And what is that? Is that infrared or is it LiDAR?
It's actually a visual. So we use 2 grayscale cameras. They're looking at the visual spectrum, and they're
just regular visual, not infrared, not ultraviolet. It's all just straight color.
We do use infrared in the marker-based mode. We have the ability to track infrared. It's built into the bar as well. We have infrared emitter.
So that's for the markers, so that you can have the retroreflective markers.
Exactly, yeah. And the other thing that's really neat with it is it's actually enough to illuminate the near camera environment. So if you're in a very dark environment, or maybe you're in an environment with a lot of dynamic lighting, we can actually we can apply a filter to the cam bar to make it light invariant and track in IR. So we've done that historically at events where you have strobing or pyro and things like that. So we're really pushing it as sort of a hybrid or flexible tracking solution that can work in different setups.
And,
So
and is this the transmitter?
Yeah, exactly. So we take all the data from the cam bar and bring it to this device that we call the Origin, which is a processor. In the setup we're showing here, we've obviously put it on the camera. You don't have to do that. We actually have a third device that we call the Link, which is about half the size. Let me just grab it, actually. So we have the option of this device that we call the Link. So this can replace this unit on the camera, and it acts as a bridge. So it's obviously much smaller, and it just has Wi-Fi, wired in Ethernet back to the processor. So it just means you can put this on a brain bar, and a magliner, or thick cart, something like that.
And this is a real-time system, so you're getting that data, you're able to track it, because you're showing that here in the software, right?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe we'll get Peter to go over here. Peter, I'm going to have you go over here and take it and just shoot this here. So.
Yeah, I'll run through the software a little bit. So all the processing is happening on that Origin unit on the camera, but our UI is actually rendered, it's a browser-based UI. So in this case, I've just got a Windows machine here where we're running Unreal, but it means I can pull up the control interface for the tracker from that computer, but it could also be a tablet or a laptop or any other device that you've got on the stage.
And what we're looking at, the dots that we're seeing there, that's his finding features that are within there that it's tracking. So that's a 2D track that then is calculated into a 3D track.
Exactly, yeah. So because we're using two cameras, we do a 2D track in each image, and then we compare the two, and then we work out the disparity between the two views. And that's what lets us build a 3D point cloud in real time. You can see, obviously, the markers are just really, we've got a little bit on the rug, some on the wall features. Just to show that, these aren't special markers I've put down. It's really we're just relying on what's in the environment. And that's really the power of that kind of natural tracking mode. You see also we've got quite a nice modern sort of 3D UI. So anyone who's used to using 3D software, they'll be right at home. They can really see how the camera's positioned in 3D space. We've simplified a lot of the settings. So it's really quick and easy to kind of get tracking. A huge part of what we've got done with Zeiss is we've taken advantage of their lens data. So we now have all of the distortion, field of view, nodal point information. What that means as a user of camera tracking is that we don't have to do any calibration. We can literally just put a lens on, and it's ready to go.
Did you have any questions?
I did have one question. You mentioned using it outdoors. I'm wondering if the software allows for you to selectively mask areas that might be grass blowing in the wind, or is the system just kind of trying to discard anything that it's noticing is moving? How does that work?
Yeah, a little bit of both, actually. So we have I suppose that in a culling sense, we have the ability to use distance as a culling method. So that's quite crude, but it actually works in a lot of environments, especially sort of LED environments where we don't necessarily want to track the wall. It's quite easy for us to kind of put a limit on the area that we look at. Longer term, we will have, I think, more advanced culling methods. But also on top of that, the system's actually quite robust to picking up bad features. So we do a lot of sensor fusion inside the bar. There's some other sensors that we use. So we're able to kind of discard bad tracking points on the fly. Obviously there's a threshold if you're in an environment where everything is moving. That can overwhelm the system. So it's really quite unusual to kind of get that threshold. And as an operator, you don't have to micromanage it. It will really discard points that it doesn't think is valid anymore. And just focus on the ones that are static. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds phenomenal. It sounds like you had mentioned run and gun, and I'm thinking of sports scenarios. You set up cameras, and then you take them away. You go to different fields. Indie shoots and that sort of thing. It seems like it really fixes one of the biggest issues with a lot of tracking systems in terms of how long it takes for calibration. So let's say I've got my camera lensing, everything's all set, and I just added this to the rails. Like, what kind of time do I need to set this up and have it calibrated and know that, yep, this is going to work for me now?
So, I mean, obviously with the power that we have with the Zeiss lenses, the whole lens calibration issue has gone away.
Why did you choose those lenses?
Exactly, yeah. Traditionally that would have been a 1 to 3 hour process just doing the lens alone. So that's just evaporated. The only other calibration we have to do is we have to know the alignment between our cam bar and the physical main camera sensor. Again, the Zeiss lens data comes in super useful because we can use a feed from the main camera to align. We can basically track points in both the main camera and our cam bar, and it allows us to do an optical alignment automatically between the two devices. So we can do that process in really a matter of seconds. And that would be done whenever you mount the cam bar or adjust the cam bar position relative to the camera sensor. So if we conservatively give that a 1 or 2 minute time frame, and then really to start tracking, it's a single button press. And because we have this stereoscopic camera bar, the operator can really just click anywhere in the image that they want the 0 point to be. And we have sort of a 3D gizmos to align the camera or fine-tune the camera position. So really, I would say a minute, 2 minute tops, and you could probably have a coffee while you're doing it as well, but it's not a stressful procedure at all.
Yeah, a couple minutes is amazing. And then just one clarification too. Obviously, I'm sure like the calibration process for your optical nodal point within a Zeiss lens is going to be pretty straightforward. Is it possible to use this with, maybe I can't afford a full suite of Zeiss lenses and I just
Have we lost audio, or is it just me? It appears we might have lost audio. So if that is a confirm, wow, so much to see and so much that we have seen. I can't believe all the stuff that is showing up at Siggraph that is really kind of blazing a new trail into there. Courtney, have you seen things that have wowed you?
Well, it's really interesting. I asked the question about the ASL because I was wondering if they could just send that data and it could be almost like closed captioning. They could generate ASL. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my camera to focus. Generate ASL and send it as closed caption data and then render it in a corner for somebody who wanted to have ASL, but it wouldn't necessarily interfere with anybody who didn't want to watch ASL. So it was kind of an
interesting question. I'm paddling a little bit because we're close to the top of the hour. I think we're probably going to go over a little bit. I don't know what the back end is talking about the camera problem we have. I certainly want to get out to the field and talk to Alex and Nick before we finish things up. Grant, anything catch your eye as we've been watching the last part here?
I'm a curious person. I think there's lots of us that are connected to office hours are just genuinely curious about lots of things. And so what happens then is when you get experts in a field that are asking technical questions, it's just fascinating. And so when Alex and Nick are asking really specific questions about how things work, you see a light change in these representatives, where they're like, "Oh, you understand what I'm talking about," and it gets to another level. That's what I love so much.
Absolutely agree with you. It's absolutely amazing. I see the pictures are starting to come back. I don't know whether we have the audio and or linkage out to the field. Okay. So there'll be a few thank yous to do. As I said, we're getting close to the top of the hour. We really want to go out and talk to the team before we wrap things up. I think they're continuing to look for other people. There's a lot of people we're going to thank here in just a minute. We've got a tremendous group who have been putting this together. And in fact, our team at Office Hours has been working on bringing this to you for the course of the last couple of months, as we always do for these shows. There are a ton of people to thank. We'll pull them out as we get toward the end of things. Don't forget, on Friday, we're going to be doing a review of what worked and what didn't work in the field this time. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about. This is our proof of concept period. We're doing these things live because nobody else does it live, and that's giving us a chance to kind of kick the tires and make sure everything functions. We've had tremendous success this weekend. We've been able to get to the show floor. We've been able to get questions to go back and forth. And I think we're back in the field. Alex and Nick, I see standing there. Guys, what are your closing thoughts here?
Hey, thanks so much, Bill. We're happy to hear. Nick has to leave immediately.
I've got my next meeting.
He's got a next meeting. It's with someone important. So we have to get it. We have to get. He has to. Off he goes. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me again.
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely.
Enjoy Siggraph.
All right. Thanks, sir. Thank you, sir. I'll grab onto this. I'll hand this off. Thanks, Nick. That was great. And one of the things that I think really worked was having Nick and us being able to play off. And the thing is we complement a lot of our knowledge, and so I think it was a lot of fun to make that actually work.
Bill for Brian, go ahead.
We really appreciate Nick Justishin from Drexel University helping out with this stream. And Nick didn't know he was going to be on. It was just kind of like yesterday, about an hour or two before. I was like, Nick, you're going to come on with me and wander around. And Nick said okay, and that's what he gets. So anyway, hey, how did it appear for you over there?
Looked really good. The whole show has looked amazing. We got to see things up close, detailed. We could pick out all the details on the products that you were talking about. I think overall this has been a tremendous success in terms of walking the floor at Siggraph 2023. Alex, any last word before I slip into the closing stuff?
No, just a quick reminder. We're going to be talking about how we did this and what it took to do it on Friday, and we'll be really excited to show you more.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, that brings our coverage to Siggraph 2023 to a close. Thanks, of course, to Alex and Nick, our on-the-show floor hosts, for bringing everything. We had a big field crew behind there, so thanks to Carmi Weinzevig, Ranjan Chandel, Peter Rosato, Robert Green, Cassie Ellis. You'll see the whole crew list as we run the credits here at the end. Big thank you to LiveView and Lectrosonics for their tech support. Part of why the show looked and sounded so good was because we had their generous help, and we really appreciate and thank them for that. Our tireless producer, Brian Shand, who's in the back of this and who has been in unending meetings, virtual meetings and planning, preparing for this coverage. It really does take a lot of people and a lot of preparation, and Brian managed and it was the Hefe for all of that. By the way, we mentioned it a couple of times, but I want to say it one more time. We're going to do our Friday recap of that. And pretty much that takes care of everything. So on behalf of everyone involved, I'm Bill Davis, thanking you for supporting this community, helping us explore modern live streaming every day, and looking at the increasingly bright future of live global web events. We'll be back on the regular show tomorrow morning. But from now, from Siggraph 2023, thanks for watching. That's a wrap. Roll credits.